I hadn't been sleeping well those days, not insomnia exactly, more like I'd fall asleep, but wake up feeling like I hadn't rested at all. Every morning, my body felt heavy and sore, like someone had been pressing bricks down on my shoulders all night. The moment I opened my eyes, I wanted to shut them again, but the alarm was blaring and I had to clock in for work. No choice. I live on the 3rd floor of an old apartment building. There's a breakfast joint downstairs, and every morning at 6, the smell of toasted bagels slips in through the cracks in the window. Normally I don't mind it, but that week, the smell was sharp to sharp. Like there was something in the air that wasn't supposed to be there. On the 3rd morning, I noticed something strange. I got up and walked into the bathroom, glanced at myself in the mirror, a chunk of hair sticking straight up. I laughed a little. But when I walked back to the bedroom to make the bed, I saw something on the pillow. There was a deep dent on the right side, like someone had been lying there all night. Not just any dent, but the kind you'd expect from a face someone sleeping turned toward me. It wasn't a mark I'd leave by rolling over. It looked intentional. I told myself I was overthinking it, tried to shrug it off. But that night, barely a few minutes after lying down, my whole body went stiff, my heartbeat slowed to a crawl. I was still holding my phone when the screen suddenly dimmed, and just like that, I didn't have the strength to look anymore. I tried to move, couldn't. My eyelids were like stone, but I was aware, fully awake, somehow, but trapped. It was like my soul had gotten wedged between my body and something else, drifting in a limbo where my mind screamed to wake up, but something deeper kept pulling me down. That's when I heard it, not a sound, a breath, from behind me. It was slow, deliberate breathing, like someone was right up against the back of my head, exhaling through their mouth. Each inhale felt like it was sucking something out of me, dragging it from my spine. I didn't move. I knew it was watching me, staring close enough to touch me. I could feel its gaze pressing against my skull. And in that moment, there was only one thought in my head: don't open your eyes. Don't turn around, don't give it a chance. I don't know how long I stayed like that. It felt like I was frozen inside a broken clock, the second hand stuck in place. At some point, I finally broke free. I jerked up into a sitting position. The room light was off, but the street lamp outside shone through the curtains, just enough to outline the bookshelf across from me. That's when I saw it. There was something in front of the bookshelf. Not something, a shadow. It stood upright. No visible features on its face, but its shape was more defined than any human silhouette I've ever seen. It didn't move, but I felt it watching me, like some part of it had glued itself to my eyes. Its eyes weren't glowing, they were like two dark holes in smoke. No light, just an overwhelming presence. I didn't move an inch, because I knew, if I blinked, it would get closer. I have no idea how I made it through that night. By the time the sun rose, it was gone. I checked the windows and the door still locked. But something inside me had snapped. I forced myself to go to work. Jared from the office said I looked like death. I laughed it off, didn't reply, couldn't eat lunch. Just sat by the window staring into the street, thinking one thing: what the hell do I do tonight? I started looking up everything: sleep paralysis, stress, hallucinations, haunting symptoms, you name it. But every article gave the same advice: regular sleep schedule. Cut caffeine. Avoid screens before bed. I don't drink coffee. I don't doom scroll. I sleep early. And no one even texts me. That night, I decided to crash on the couch instead. Closed the bedroom door. Left the TV on low, just loud enough to drown out whatever noise might creep in. Wrapped myself in a blanket, head against the armrest, eyes fixed on the faint crack in the ceiling. I thought I had one, but in the middle of the night, I woke up, not because I wanted to, because something woke me. Not a sound, not a touch. Just a sense I wasn't alone. I froze. Then I heard it approaching. Drip, drip, drip. It wasn't footsteps. It was something wet, falling from the air and hitting the carpet. Each drop felt like it was landing directly on my nerves. I told myself not to turn around. But I couldn't help it. Slowly, I tilted my head back. It was behind me. This time it wasn't hiding. It was crouched beside my shoulder. Its face inches from mine. I could feel its breath thick and wet, like rotting fruit turned to syrup. It didn't move, just stared. I knew it was waiting for me to do something. Say something. I shut my eyes, forced myself to breathe deeply. My heart pounded like a war drum, but I didn't make a sound. I don't know why it didn't touch me. Maybe it just wanted to be sure I knew it was there. I did nothing. I just endured. When daylight came, I bolted upright like someone gasping, nearly drowning. I called my brother and told him I needed to stay over. He didn't ask questions. Just said, "Bring your own pillow, mine sucks." I crashed in his guest room for 3 nights. Those 3 nights were quiet, peaceful. I started to think maybe it was over. Maybe I'd imagined everything. On the 4th day, I went back to grab some clothes. I walked into my bedroom in the afternoon, opened the closet, and that smell hit me again. Thick, wet, sweet and sour. Decay. I didn't stay long. My brother helped me pack what I needed, and I found a new place, a smaller apartment, temporary. But one thing stayed the same. I never, ever sleep with my back to the room, and I never open my eyes in the dark. There's a place in Mexico, the island of the Dolls, a small patch of land surrounded by waterways, its trees draped with broken, weathered dolls. Some say an old caretaker collected them to ward off the spirit of a drowned girl. Others claim the dolls' eyes hold ghosts, that they watch you at night. We hadn't planned on going, but after hearing how eerie it was a paradise for photographers and growing tired of the usual city sights, we decided to take a boat out there. The morning was clear, sunlight breaking through the clouds as the boatman rowed us silently through the canals. The water was calm, reeds whispering at the banks. It took over an hour before the island came into view. From a distance, the doll-covered trees looked like a crowd of twisted figures, swaying in the wind. When we docked, the sight made my skin prickle. The island was dense with trees, each one strung with decaying dolls, some missing arms, others half their faces, their remaining eyes dangling by threads, swaying in the breeze. It was unsettling in a way I couldn't explain, as if every single doll was watching us. We followed a muddy path deeper in, our footsteps loud in the unnatural quiet. I don't remember who suggested it, but eventually, we decided to stay for a night shots. We came all this way, someone said. We can't miss the island after dark. The boatman hesitated, but agreed, promising to return at dawn. When the sun set, the silence became suffocating. Darkness pressed in, broken only by moonlight and the weak beams of our flashlights. The dolls creaked as they swayed, a sound like someone humming off-key, just behind your ear. I tried not to look at their faces, focusing on my camera, but the feeling of being watched crawled up my spine. The wind picked up, throwing twisted shadows across the ground. We split up to take photos. I chose an old tree heavy with dolls, and snapped a few shots under the moonlight before crouching to change my battery. That's when I heard it, a whisper, soft and murmuring, right behind me. I spun around, nothing. Just rows of dolls hanging from branches. My flashlight swept over them, their faces flickering in the light, as if they'd just turned away. I stood, my pulse hammering. My friends had gone quiet, I couldn't hear them anymore. The wind carried a stench, rotting earth and something worse. I tried to call out, but my throat locked. I forced myself to walk back. After a few steps, something thumped at my feet. A broken doll lay face up in the mud. Its one dangling eye fixed on me. I reached to nudge it aside, but the moment my fingers brushed it, its head twitched. I stumbled back, tripping over a rock. Then footsteps, slow, deliberate, bare feet squelching in mud. I swung my flashlight. The beam showed nothing, but the steps kept coming, closer now. I ran, my camera bouncing against my chest, the flashlight shaking in my grip. The ground was slick. I fell, hands and knees sinking into the muck. When I finally stopped to gasp for air, my ribs ached. The dolls still surrounded me, the trees still groaned. I was lost, everything looking the same. Just as I turned, a child's laughter cut through the dark, short, cold. I whirled around. Every doll on the branches had turned, their faces now fixed on me. I scrambled backward, slipping, landing hard. Something brushed my shoulder, a gust of icy wind. Above me, the dolls swayed, as if someone had just pushed them. I don't know how I lasted until dawn. Eventually, I curled under a tree, eyes shut tight, listening to the wind, and that awful creaking. When daylight finally filtered through the branches, the first thing I saw was the doll at my feet. It looked even more ruined than before, its cracks deeper. The boatman returned. None of us spoke as we climbed in. On the way back, no one mentioned the night. The water glittered under the sun, the island shrinking behind us, but I could still feel those hundreds of doll eyes, clinging to my back, staring. At the hotel, I trembled as I scrolled through the photos. They were blurred, smeared with pale, twisted faces that shouldn't have been there, faces reaching out from the dark. I was too afraid to delete them. They're still in that camera. Every summer, we meet up out in the wild somewhere. It's nothing official, just a few of us getting together, picking a spot far from the city, cracking open some beers, grilling some food, catching up on life. This year, it was my idea. We set the date for the first weekend of August. The place, the usual White Creek Wilds, a remote patch of grassland with a winding creek running through it. Nobody ever goes out there, no one to bother us. I drove Matt and Jason out. The weather was heavy, like it always is right before rain. Clouds hung low over the highway. We got there around 5 in the afternoon. Still light out, but the air was thick. We grabbed the beer and food from the trunk and lugged the cooler through the tall grass. The grass was even higher than last year, damp and brushing against our jeans as we walked. The creek looked the same, that same steady, quiet flow. We started a fire, set up our chairs, popped open a few bottles. The mood began to settle. Time passed fast. Once the sun dipped behind the trees, the fog rolled in, thin at first, then thicker. That wasn't anything new. That place always fogged up after sunset. Matt was sitting on a rock, gnawing on a sausage. Jason had gone off a bit to take a leak. The mist thickened, and I noticed the grass shifting on the other side of the creek. It moved like someone was walking slowly through it. But there was nothing there. I figured it was just the wind. Jason didn't come back for a while. He liked to talk crap, sure, but he never wandered far. We started getting uneasy. Matt grabbed a flashlight and went to look for him. I stayed by the fire, staring at the beer cans chilling in the creek. The fog got denser. The air started to smell strange, damp, earthy, almost suffocating. Matt came back pale-faced, holding the corner of Jason's shirt. It was wet and streaked with mud. He said he found it in the brush. No sound around, no footprints, just a patch of grass flattened, like something had been dragged through it. We both took flashlights and combed the area. Something felt off. Even the sounds were weird. The creek, usually so close, now sounded distant, like it wasn't coming from where it should. When we stopped walking, the silence was heavy. No crickets, nothing. Then I heard the water again, closer this time. Not the creek, but a step. Like someone had just stepped into the stream, soft, but unmistakable. We moved in that direction, just a few yards, nothing. Only fog, and grass trembling slightly like it had just been brushed by something. Night had fallen by then. We didn't go any farther. Back at the campsite, we waited. The fire got lower. No cell service out there. We'd have to wait till morning to hike back and call for help. Nobody slept. We just sat in the dark, watching the shifting shadows, waiting for anything to move. Around midnight, we heard it again. Across the creek, splashes, dragging sounds, slow, irregular. We looked over and there was a figure in the mist, about Jason's height. Standing still, perfectly straight, not moving at all. Before we could say anything, it vanished, like the fog swallowed it whole. At first light, we hiked up the ridge and finally got a signal to call the cops. The search team came a few hours later. They combed the entire area for 3 days. Found one shoe, a torn piece of shirt, nothing else. Jason was declared a missing person. The report said he probably slipped and fell into the creek. But we knew better. He wouldn't have gone far. He wouldn't have just left us. The fog came in too fast that night. The sounds were too strange. That wasn't something natural. Not that night. Not out there.